Back to it. Yeah, I remember the sensations of what was going on more than the actual activities themselves. Obviously, that fucked up a very young and innocent George. So I've grown up talking and telling everyone that I was born deaf. My hearing was the equivalent to hearing underwater. That doesn't sound deaf. Or as close to, I don't know what it is. But it's always undermined that I wasn't deaf. I could hear, it was just like being underwater. Yeah. So, I remember being told, I think it was the first time, that because I'm a big mature boy, that I was allowed to do one little thing that adults could. But if I told anyone, I wouldn't be allowed to be an adult. And for years that stuck with me, to the point that my imposter syndrome started trying to make up lies, saying that I am actually mentally deficient, that I'm broken, damaged and all that shite. She's like, crossing roads, man, this goes along. Yeah, so obviously little impression of all me. So okay, that's fine. Skip to 6 years later. And now I'm saying that because of said broken ideas and structures of parental guidance and all of that jazz, and older people are meant to be there to look after us, because that was all broken and shattered. I walked in to some real sticky situations, and I always palmed it off as, well, I went there, I did that, I chose to go. Yeah, many times stuff like that's happened. It's taken a lot to kind of reconcile with the fact that my childhood trauma has manifested in me walking in arms open to toxic people. And I've never learned. But now, in my 29th year, well, 30th year I guess, I don't want to deal with it anymore. This life has given me nothing but mental health issues, delusions and psychosis, and a fuckload of trauma responses that I just don't understand. I want to say quickly as well that hearing the word and hearing the definition of psychosis, two different things. Because of our lovely media and their penchant for over-exaggeration, manipulation, lies and slander, people like myself I consider dangerous. I'm not. I've never been outwardly aggressive to anyone. I may have raised my voice a few times, but generally, since school, I've never raised a fist to anyone. I've been jumped, I've been assaulted, sexually assaulted, and I've always tried to keep myself above it all because I'm a nice man and I care. I'm just a little bit chipped from when I was made. I come out of the cooker wrong. Or I come out of the cooker right. And the world broke me. No, one person did. 2 people. That woman and a teacher I had in school who removed me off all my courses to help me read and write properly and to catch up, which would have highlighted all of my ADHD symptoms and autism for a full proper diagnosis as a kid and not half a diagnosis as an adult. Having to spend pretty much every day for 29 years explaining the reason why you have autism hands, or you say things as they are, but you say things as you think them. You can't understand simple, small tasks, but I believe I've cracked the question of why do we have religion. I've solved it. I know. Yeah. Practice like this is complete. It ain't dangerous. I'm not dangerous. If I had a physically abusive childhood, I'm going to pause again. What I mean by that is if I was beaten severely and starved and all of the ways you think about being physically abused as a kid, I could have potentially manifested my psychosis into lashing out at other people, becoming a danger to others, but because of my logistics, because of my foundations, because of the transactional relationship I had with certain members of my immediate family, I binned off emotions because they were thrown out the window, they were lied about, they were manipulated, twisted and rude. So I got rid of them subconsciously, and now I think only in logical, pragmatic, 10 steps ahead of everyone else kind of way. Hence why I don't go to therapy. Hence why I'm not on any antidepressants, antipsychotics, any of that, because it doesn't work. And I know we're not meant to say that it's not the same for everyone. It is, because doctors and physicians and scientists and that don't really understand where depression and anxiety come from. It's a societal structure. Some of the poorest places in the world don't have depression. They have sad people, granted, and like an economic depression for sure, but general depression, no. Also, poorer, more seen as outwardly happier countries, their schizophrenia talks in nice, happy, calm voices, where oppressed societies, corrupted societies, and basically prisoned societies like us in America, are symptoms manifest as aggression, because it's the only thing we can bottle up. Because if you talk about something that's wrong in the world or with society, it's not the problem. Can I go? I'm going, fuck it. It's not the problem, you are. You're the problem. I remember at school, candidly asking specific questions about specific types of religion and why certain stories within certain books didn't make a whole bunch of sense because of X, Y, and Z things, and they contradicted later on, or if not before, directly before, like in lines above. I was told I'm wrong, like many of us were. You're wrong. You're just not accepting. You're not fitting in. You're doing this on purpose. I'm not. I just don't have a human brain. I have a Neanderthal brain. I have a brain that consolidates information, skills, and general just logic in places I ain't got a clue. So when I try and pull out bits of info, I get most of it wrong, but the sentiment right. We really need to change the way we look at certain things. Cannabis can affect severe psychosis. I should know. I used to black out. The one time I actually was outwardly aggressive to some degree, I was at a club which I don't remember getting to, and I remember just kind of coming round like I'd woken up, and my ex-girlfriend and her mate were screaming at me, telling me like my asshole, every name under the sun, what has happened to me, why am I getting aggressive, and us doing, what the fuck are you talking about? What are you talking about? And they were like, don't be saying that. I was like, what the fuck are you saying? They're like, you just threatened to punch Becca. Probably shouldn't say anything, but everyone. You just threatened to punch her. I was like, what? No, I didn't. I didn't even know how I got it. And yeah, it was a bit of an eye-opener. A couple of weeks later, I told this guy I was seeing that I had loads of people buried in my garden, and I'd butchered them, and that I'd taken in their souls and shit. And from my perspective, I was with my mates 1 minute, I fell asleep on my bed, I woke up, there was 9 ambulance, 9 paramedics, and like 5 or 6 police officers. They had these full charts and all sorts, saying how I'd been talking to him, I'd been completely conscious, I was articulate, and I basically wrapped everything up, got in bed, kind of poked my head down, and then I come back out. And then the cops were like, no, we've been here for ages, mate, you let us in. I don't think that's true, bruv. I don't know what you mean. I've never seen you before in my life. And I've read the report. Oh my God. And it all started to fall into place. Guess what I didn't do though? Didn't seek help. I drank myself stupid. I drank 2 pints of straight vodka, filled to the brim with every paracetamol, every painkiller, every pharmaceutical drug I could find in my house. And that included medicine cabinets, suppositories, the Hydrolite, all of it. Everything that I found that was some way related to a medicine. I wanted it in me. I didn't want to wake up. I remember that. And I remember just crying, hysterically crying and chugging this mixture of vodka and pills. I remember stacking up the second one. I remember trying to do it quickly. And then I kind of woke up feeling like I was absolutely dying. I was rotted from the core outwards. And I'd broken my kidney. I had to go to hospital. I was on dialysis. Well, I was on the drip for a month. I think it was 5 weeks, something like that, 4 or 5 weeks. 23 hours a day, and because I was allowed off for an hour, they kept the tubes and everything. So I had to, it was all in my right hand, which some of you will know that I'm right-handed, and I had to try and do everything with a cannula sticking out my thumb. Catheter? Cannula. It is a cannula, I'm sure it's a cannula. It was not... Hey, I got a haircut. I'm well sweaty, by the way, as you can tell. But yeah, I'm going to round this up quickly. If you know someone who's got psychosis or schizophrenia or psychopathy, depression, anxiety, ask them how their symptoms manifest. Ask them what would make their life easier when they're in a bad place. And generally try and understand that, you know when you've got 5 people ringing you at once, and you've got then someone in front of you shouting at you, and there's so many emergencies going on at once, and you literally have no idea how to maintain any of them. Don't know where to start. Everything's kicking off. That's what all day, every day is like for me. Everything sets off anxiety and like intruder alarms. It drives me insane. And when it gets so bad, my executive function shut down, and I just sit and stare at the wall, disassociate, and just basically, to outward worlds, I don't do anything. I just sit down and just refuse to do anything. And to me, I'm creating little worlds. I'm creating D&D maps, lore, history. I'm thinking about theories. I'm thinking about why humanity is here, which I might do a video about soon. I might write a script for it, because there's no way I'm going to be able to articulate any of that shit off my dome anyway. And yeah, we shouldn't have to shy away from talking about hard topics like Catholics being inherently corrupted, the Catholic Church. You know who you are. How they stole tens of thousands of babies after the Second World War. They butchered and massacred thousands of people in Rwanda, 30 years ago? There was an apology given out in 2017, but I didn't know apologies could give people back from the dead. But apparently, according to Christians, an apology is all you need. Yeah. It's weird that the Archbishop of Canterbury was kicked out and told to resign with dishonour and disgrace because he didn't identify the paedophiles. Why couldn't he keep his job if he outed them? If he handed them names over, I would have seen that as an okay position. I'd be like, okay, he was clearly under some kind of pressure to keep these people hidden and whatnot because he didn't want to bring more atrocities to the church. But he didn't. He quit. And we still don't know who those cunts are. We need to pull together to actually look at real structures of everyday life that has been perpetually perpetrating precarious plots. I'm out. Yeah. We need to talk seriously about the fact that politicians are never going to stick up for us until they're on a minimum wage. The NHS, education and public services should have a minimum cap of public funding, and it can't, regardless of what's going on, can't be taken out of. It can only be added into. Why is that not a thing? Why was that not instinctually put in to protect this shit from the crazy rich people that we've got? And also passive income. Like, why are we not taxing passive income? If you've got £100 million in your account, you're getting like 7 million. My math's probably going to be well wrong, but about £7 or £8 million in just revenue on top of that. You're just going to get that of interest. So instead of given them that 7 or 8 million, why can't that just be taxed? They've still got 100. I know people want wealth, but how are you going to spend that? Why is it that they're seen as good for holding on to their wealth when they can't spend it? Their kids and grandkids and grandkids ain't going to be able to spend half that fucking dollar. But yet we're still meant to be parading them around like they're doing good for us when they're not. I can't remember the last time a rich person went round and just paid off people's debts. Manson did. I'm probably saying his name wrong, but he did. History doesn't remember him very well, unless you're from Africa. And Kemet, now known as Egypt, the African country that was definitely popularised by Africans until the Islamic crusade through the Middle East and into Africa, which, don't care what anyone says, if I can say I'm Islamophobe or whatever, an anti-theist, so I don't like any of them. It happened. We know that Islam, like Christianity did, like the Catholics did, they butchered their way across most of the main, like Middle Earth. Hence why there's so many countries in Africa, North Africa, that are randomly Muslim, but were Christian. That wasn't natural. That wasn't inherited to them. Inherent to them. That wasn't given to them. I fucking know what I'm trying to say. I hope you know what I mean. Indigenous. You weren't indigenous. It's a Middle Eastern culture. Jesus, the white man that everyone thinks about, is Michelangelo's boyfriend, who was 17 at the time. This is all historical facts. You can Google all of this. He was known to have many young acolytes, but because homosexuality back then wasn't seen, well, actually no, it was, because it was, I'm gonna go wrong now. Homosexuality was seen as a sin. He kept that shit shut. Why do you think he took so long painting the Sistine Chapel? Why do you think he whacked in all those shit that the church said they didn't want? He hated them. Took every opportunity to shit on them. And good for him. Everyone should. For a book, a library, to teach you it's okay to murder children for bullying an old bald man. If you believe in that, I don't want to have a conversation with you. If you believe it's okay to convince indentured servants to stay in their contract because you gave them a wife and forced them to have children, and they now, because of their religious ideologies, cannot leave them, otherwise they'll be ostracised from their family as well. So you perpetually kept slaves for generations, given them down as property. It states all of this in the Bible. Jesus never come back and said, or never come anywhere. Yeshua didn't rise from the dead, or he didn't appear when he was 30 to say, I'm not come to change God's will, I'm here to enforce the sword or some shite. It ain't nice. Most Christians and Catholics can only quote the Sermon on the Mount is the nice passage. One book in the library that's nice. So imagine going to your public library and you have all of the books are about murder, genocide, and weird philosophy, about butchery, and how, well, technically, Yahweh, God, is part of a pantheon. The Elohim, it states in the Torah and the Bible, I'm not too sure about the Quran, I need to check it when I get in. The Elohim is it's a plural word, so it's multiple. So in Genesis chapter 1, I think it's the first fucking line, it says El spark light, or El created light, something along those lines. Short abbreviation for Elohim it's a plural word, it's a pantheon of gods. Because the original God, some say the Demiurge, some say it was Yahweh, and they swapped. But either way, in the ancient texts, Yahweh took over from the overarching God, the God of creation, the one that actually did start all of it. And when his power corrupted him absolutely, and he tried to flood the world because a couple of people died, he abandoned us and left, taking his children and his knowledge and all of that with him. He fucked off, whilst leaving his savage, barbaric rules. It condones incest, condones slavery, condones paedophilia, condones murder, condones genocide, condones oppression, condones homophobia, condones misogyny. Where are the morals? Where are the moral teachings? Don't hurt someone because God will punish you forever, even though he made you do it. No, he gave us free will, right? But if he knows what we're going to do before we do it, he wrote the plan, he made the plan. Why did he write us that way? Why did he create us that way? But that's something we're never going to know because we're not part of the Elohim. Okay, well, if that barbaric nonsense is true, when I get to the pearly gates and I'll spit in the eye of St. Paul, I'll ask where that fucking genocidal cunt is. I'll attempt to slap him as well, maybe give him a cheeky spit, and I'll throw myself into the pit. I'll go see Samael. I'll go see Lucifer. I'd rather go down for an honourable reason than to ascend for a bad one. I don't share morals with paedophiles, murderers, tyrannical dictators, liars, theists. I don't get it. I don't want to be a part of it. I don't want to live in a world where it's in. I've gone way off topic. This is a half an hour video now. I've just been waffling on. I actually can't remember what my original point was. Something about psychosis and depression and how we need to reevaluate the way we look at things. And yeah, I went on a rant about religion again. But I need to calm down. I'm so frustrated at the moment, but I'll see you in a bit.